Good evening, Dynasty Warriors. This is Nick and Eric coming at you live, ready to introduce Season 9. We kick off here in 5 days, Thursday, right?
Yeah, Thursday
5 days.
with the what is it? Bills and Rams.
Bills-Rams, Thursday Night Football, exclusively on Amazon Prime. This is in no way a sponsored ad for Amazon Prime. We're going to try to keep this brief. Eric and I had the pleasure of drafting from the same venue at my house.
Yeah, where were all you guys?
You jackasses.
All a bunch of bums.
I gave you guys like
cool.
a month notice and nobody shows up except for Eric.
Yeah.
We know who our real friends are, but that's okay.
We're going to go big next year, so everyone needs to mark their calendars now. And we're going to throw a big party and have a lot of fun.
Might as well say.
For that 10th anniversary.
Labor Day weekend, we'll just plan something, right?
Plan it out.
So get it on your agenda. We're gonna go over just a little bit of the recap for the draft. A couple of things of note. Number one, there were 2 auto drafters this year. You'll find out a little bit more. But that was Brian Burkus, who complained about his team and decided to auto draft, thinking I don't know what he was thinking.
He auto picked his keepers too. Complained about the keepers he had, and then.
He auto-picked his keepers.
Auto-picked his keepers, too.
So we know Brian is not off to a good start. Mike wasn't very competitive, and I'm starting to think Mike may have been more competitive than Brian. So
yeah, we're just here to roast your team. So I can't wait to see the commentary and trash talk back at us. But if you don't show up, this is what you get, because here we are.
So real quick, the way that ESPN shakes us out after the draft. Dr. Fart is number 1 in power rankings. Miller Genuine Draft Picks is number 2. Toilet Bowl Favorite is number 3. Silence of the Lambs. Is it Lambs? Silence of the Lambs? Yeah. It's kind of cut off here. Silence of the Lambs, number 4. Kirk for President, number 5. Team Flynn, most original team name ever, number 6. Crystal Lake, Parking Lot Seagulls is number 7. Upper Decker, 8. Team Titty Bitties, 9, and Aura Pro Norbis Lucifer. I don't know what that is, but that's Dane is power ranked at number 10. So, will it stand? Definitely not.
Yeah, it's not going to end that way.
But that's what ESPN has us currently ranked at. So, Eric, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think we're just going to go through each team and just kind of live react to everyone and what they got going on. So at the top of my list here, we got Jake's team, who is auto-drafted. Not going to read through every team, but looking at it at first glance, Jake does not have a second quarterback. So he's got a stud in Justin Herbert, but nothing right there to back him up. And I am very scared at his running back situation with Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders there, that there's just no backup behind him. Well, he's got James Robinson and Melvin Gordon, but those guys are both the second running backs on their teams. Have some injury histories there. Jacobs and Sanders, I think, are busts that will not have value. So Jake is loaded at wide receiver, though. Debo, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins. So Jake, even though he did not draft, has got some moves to make to help balance out his team and probably upgrade his running backs. And get a second quarterback, because Davis Mills is sitting on the waiver wire right there, waiting for you. And Mr. Biscuit himself, Mitch Trubisky, go out and get him for a whole 2 weeks before he gets benched.
Mr. Biscuit. I'll start it off with Brian Haig. Brian is kind of my sleeper pick of the Moors division. Brian is Upper Decker. He was our Toilet Bowl champion from last year. He has 3 pretty solid quarterbacks, and Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins, and Tua. If Tua plays out well, we'll see what he does with his improved wide receiver situation, but it may end up benefiting him. He's got rookie in Breece Hall, and he's got DeAndre Swift. His wide receiver situation with Lazard and Jerry Jeudy and Brown, those are situations where if they perform, it's going to be great. But we'll wait and see. And then, of course, he has Travis Kelce, one of his keepers. But I think he's my sleeper. It's not like the most, it's not the most sexy team, but it is a team that I think will
be competitive.
Will be competitive throughout the season. So
and maybe finally get Brian to the playoffs for once.
For once, Brian, please, for the love of God, make the playoffs.
Come on, your child's depending on it. You're a dad now.
You got to pay for college. We're not going to get loan forgiveness everywhere.
Caleb, what are you doing?
You want to come say hi? No.
No? All right. Third up is our reigning champion, Randy, the guy who didn't even know he was in the playoffs last year, but managed to find a way to win the whole thing and cash in on his third championship in, 4 years? Third one in 4 years or something insane. So everyone has a back on, or Randy's got the target on his back, and hopefully someone takes him down this year. Looking at Randy's team, obviously his keepers are pretty studly there with Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey, the top 2 running backs in consensus rankings. Obviously, if they can both stay healthy, then both will dominate there. Looking at Randy's team, he's got Patrick Mahomes, all reliable at quarterback, ton of wide receivers, ton of running backs, that he's definitely loaded there, but waited way too long to gear up a second quarterback and is stuck with Carson Wentz as his QB2. Obviously, he can start a position player at the super flex spot, but historically speaking, doesn't always pay off well. So I'm a little worried about Randy's team there. And my first bold prediction going through this is that Randy is not going to win his division. I think that Carson Wentz being your second quarterback is going to come back to bite him.
Jonathan Taylor, Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, not gonna.
I'm gonna regret that come December when the playoffs start. But I just feel with all that depth there, he's got some tough start-sit decisions. Looking at who's on his bench versus his starters, that if he doesn't pick the right guys in the right week, it might come back to bite him, and we'll truly see how often he plays a second quarterback. So I think it's obviously a lock to make the playoffs, but I could see a story where he does not win the division and has got to fight for it.
Yeah.
I'll probably be wrong, but there's my bold take.
All right, moving on. Randy was one of mine. That's okay.
Oh, I'm just going right down the list. I didn't know we had
let's go down the list. I had a list of people I was going to review.
All right, well, you just stick to your list.
I'll go to Team Flynn. Let's see. Looking at Steve now. Just a quick glance. His wide receivers are they scare me a little bit outside of Stephon Diggs. We don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Waddle, but is Tyreek Hill gonna help free him up a little bit? Will it not? DK Metcalf, obviously with Russ going to the Mile High City. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I honestly think if I'm going to make a bold prediction, it's going to be that Tyler Lockett has a better season than DK Metcalf. But I mean, we'll wait and see. David Montgomery and Leonard Fournette. There's a lot of talk about David Montgomery not having the right fit for the new Bears offense, so that's a little bit scary for me. And then looking here too, Danny Dimes is Team Flynn's second quarterback right now, which is obviously very scary. You have Brian Daboll, whatever his name is,
coming over from Buffalo,
coming over as a new coach. Will that improve? Saquon Barkley being back healthy.
Steve did take Deshaun Watson though too, so Steve's hoping that Daniel Jones can carry him some wins to make the playoffs. Yeah. And then come playoff time, you got Deshaun Watson sitting right there.
But we'll see. I mean, it's with Jake having a pretty rough team. There's a shot at a third playoff spot if you can get in there. So it's my analysis on Steve.
Steve's got a sleeper team that if he can pull off wins and get into the playoffs, having Watson there, definitely an advantage. Assuming that he's still good, though. We haven't seen him play in a while.
Yeah.
And then last one for the Moores division is Brett. He was on your list, so you want to go through?
No, you're
go
good.
through Brett. All right. Well, Brett, the guy to win 2 championships in this league and beat me the one year that I actually had a good team. Still salty about that 5 years later, but that's just the drive to compete again. When I look at Brett's team, a lot of running backs there that scare me, that Cam Akers kept as a keeper, coming off that Achilles injury, really looked pretty bad in the playoffs last year. However, I think he was rushed into it and not fully recovered, so hopefully he can get healthy. He has missed a lot of time in the preseason, so I think losing out on all that practice reps will affect him. So definitely a boom-bust player there. And also looking at James Conner and Damian Harris, two other running backs that Brett took. Very touchdown dependent last year, that they were outliers that had more touchdowns than expected. And if they don't do that again, then I'm a little worried about the ceiling that Brett can hit there. Burrow and Dak Prescott gives them two solid quarterbacks to rely on, and we've seen two strong quarterbacks win championships in this league. So he's banking on that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is he ever going to do anything? Otherwise, I mean, really looking at Brett's team, I think he will be competitive like he is every year. He's well balanced at all the positions. It's just a matter of, do his running backs, which used to be Brett's strongest point, can they live up to expectations and score enough touchdowns to keep him relevant? And if they do, then Brett will be a team to watch out, and perhaps be the team that beats Randy in the division, as long as Connor and Harris get their touchdowns, and Clyde does something. So,
right,
it'll be fun to watch.
Moving on to Eric. Eric has my favorite quarterback room in the league, with Josh Allen and Calamari. His wide receivers are a little bit scary to me, but seems like
too. Me too. I hate my wide receiver room.
There's he's got, and his wide receivers, if they perform, are going to be great. I like Eckler. I have Eckler in my other keeper league. Javonte Williams, we'll kind of wait and see what happens there, but I think Eric has a real shot to perform well this year, especially with two top quarterbacks. We know that that's a model. Brett won 2 championships with prime Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson in his better years in Seattle. So I think Eric has a really balanced team. I like Dameon Pierce, as you know, they liked him obviously enough in Houston to cut Marlon Mack. So we'll see. And
Juju, reach, though. I still reached and took Pierce too early, but
Juju, I was telling Eric as we were drafting, I'm like, Juju, like, he has to be higher, right? Like, who's gonna replace Tyreek Hill? Who do they have? Valdez-Scantling and Juju are like my 2 picks to do that. So I think Juju's he's gonna finish much higher than his ADP. We'll see. And then Matt Ryan is his backup quarterback.
Better situation in Indy than he had in Atlanta. So he could be this year's Matt Stafford and really catapult himself into a better situation. We'll see.
That's for sure. All right.
Well, since Nick roasted me, I'll go into Nick's team here. Next up they actually didn't really roast me.
It's a championship team.
Championship team. Nick, Mr. Third Place. He loves those bronze medals. Currently in the rankings that he explained earlier, he's currently set up to finish 3rd. So if anyone's consistent there, it would be Nick.
Consistently, okay.
Doubled up on Cincinnati Bengals, chasing that Super Bowl ride there with Mixon and Chase. Nick is very low on Chase this year, thinks he's got a sophomore slump, but isn't willing to trade him after all the trash talk he's got there.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. Let's talk about him.
Let's talk about him. Well, the Lions wide receivers, they had a good one since Megatron, Calvin Johnson. Hopefully St. Brown can be a new forthcoming of that. Nick definitely reached on Justin Fields a little bit. I think Fields fits better as a quarterback 3, and he was hoping for Derek Carr, but then got sniped by what was that?
Dane.
Dane. Okay, we'll get to him. Grab at him, and then Nick just tilted right into Justin Fields. Obviously has a high upside if he hits with that rushing mobility, and I mean threw 3 touchdown passes in the preseason game the other day on those first 3 drives. So there's definitely opportunity there for Fields, but is also a risky pick. And Zach Wilson is too busy hanging out with his mom's friends to really focus this year. So we'll see how he does as the third quarterback. But otherwise, Nick definitely has strong keepers with Najee, Mixon, Chase. Pittman could be a big breakout guy this year. A.J. Dillon, I had to talk him into, and now he's all nervous about. So sounds like A.J. Dillon might be on the block if you can talk him into it. I think there's a good opportunity there that he picks up the slack and has a bigger role in Green Bay with there not being any reliable wide receivers that Aaron Rodgers is used to. He's already been vocal about not trusting his rookie wide receivers and has a long history of not utilizing rookie wide receivers. So I'll be curious to see what happens in Green Bay. So I think Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon will both be stud guys to rely on. Ken Walker's there, sleeper running back, that if Rashad Penny gets injured like he always does, then there's a good opportunity there if Ken Walker is healthy and can battle there. So Nick's also got a balanced team. That's why he's ranked third this year, and we'll just see if he can put up and compete.
Let's keep away from those injuries. I'm going to review Brian next. Brian Burkus, our newcomer to the league, took over for Mike's team, had the fourth pick, and really slim pickings just overall in his keepers. So Matthew Stafford, Derrick Henry, Mike Evans, and Cortland Sutton were his keepers. Brian, with his first pick, wanted me to grab Russell Wilson and knew he was going to auto draft the rest of the way.
But then immediately announces that he's ready to make trades.
I know.
So if you're there looking at your team, where were you at for the draft, Brian?
Brian hasn't really done anything to care about this league at all. So I'm hoping that he steps up and is more productive at some point. Brian's loaded with wide receivers, and he has Derrick Henry, and then he has Chase Edmonds for his running backs. And the next one on his team is Brian Robinson, who just was mugged and shot, I think, right? It was Robinson? Yeah.
So he'll be out at least the first 4 or 5 weeks. We'll see what happens after that, but he's also a running back, so we'll see what happens there. I think Brian's going to have a hard time making start-sit decisions on his wide receivers because he's got, six top 30 ranked wide receivers, but he can only play 3 or 4 if he uses that super flex spot. But picking between 3 of the top, or 3 of the 6 is going to be a tough battle to pick the right weeks there. So he'll definitely have to make a trade to get rid of some of that talent and acquire, some better running back depth behind Henry and Edmonds.
And I think we found a good trade partner, and Eric will review Kyle next, who might be the perfect trade partner for
Yeah, Kyle, have you met Brian? Because Kyle, you are way too loaded on running backs. If you want to keep 3 starting stud running backs, I'm all for that. But then to take J.K. Dobbins, Kareem Hunt, and Ramondre Stevenson as your first 3 bench guys is a bit of a bold take there. Obviously Justin Jefferson's a stud wide receiver. Hunter Renfrow, I think, is underrated and has a good opportunity this year. More as a 3rd or 4th wide receiver, not your second guy. Bob Woods, we'll see if he's healthy. Marvin Jones, getting up there in age, and we'll see what his opportunity there is in Jacksonville. Jahan Dotson's a wide receiver. So I think Kyle's got a stud wide receiver in Jefferson, but then after that, it's Renfrow and a bunch of maybes. Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence, also 2 second-year quarterbacks that Lance didn't play last year, but obviously has a lot of talent and a lot of hype that could be a stud dual threat, rushing and power arm guy. So we'll see what happens there. But he's still got Jimmy G breathing down his neck now. That we'll see if that happens mentally or if there's a shorter leash on him than there would normally be on young quarterbacks. Tiffany Lawrence is obviously there too. We'll see how he does in that long hair and new coach and system there. Kyle's got a lot of stud guys, really strong team at running back, but he's gonna have to trade some of that depth and try and balance out his team with better wide receivers or a veteran quarterback just in case it doesn't pan out with Trey and Tiffany. So.
Yeah. And lastly, we'll review Dane. Dane gave me a head scratcher when I think his second pick was Michael Thomas. I mean, Michael Thomas was great 3 years ago, but does he require a fourth round or sixth round pick in a keeper league?
It's been a while.
It's and then Tom Brady with his first pick. I know the GOAT. But I think might be a closet Saints fan because he's got Kamara, Winston. He has their defense and special teams and Michael Thomas. So you throw those four together. Closet Saints fan, maybe.
Looks like it.
I like Hawkinson. I really do like Hawkinson. Dane's wide receivers are great. Elijah Mitchell, maybe still questionable for me. I think he was selected as a keeper, which makes sense. Kamara, Mitchell, two really good ones. Rashad Penny, we'll wait and see on Rashad Penny if he's going to be injured or if he'll be unset by the rookie that he has. But overall, I mean, I think Dane has a pretty competitive team. I think he will be probably one of the top three teams in the Moops division. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that he's got an interesting team. Another one of those boom bust type things that Keenan Allen and guys that are getting older. Keenan Allen's obviously been a reliable stud his whole career, but is getting up there with age. And I think Mike Williams is going to have his fair share, and then you get Josh Palmer's getting a lot of hype as a sleeper. That can Keenan Allen give Dane one more strong year? Tyler Lockett, Julio Jones, and then Michael Thomas. He's got a lot of strong veteran wide receivers that have had very strong careers, but can they maintain it for one more year and help carry Dane there? Otherwise, I mean, I like that quarterback room with Derek Carr and Jameis Winston being streamed between the two of them there.
Yeah, screw you, Dane, taking Derek Carr right out from under my nose.
And then Brandon Ayuk was a tempting pick for me. I had him last year. He burned me all year long. So not someone that I wanted to draft, but I think that...
He's your Vernon Davis.
Yeah. So I think Dane got good value there with that pick, but it's still risky on if he's gonna do anything there. So
that's a recap of the draft and our initial thoughts on the teams as we get ready to move into the next phase. Again, Thursday Night Football kicks us off.
We want to hear your comments too.
Yeah,
so you heard us talk about your teams. You can roast us on what you think about our teams, or you can defend your team and why you're going to win the championship this year, or where we're wrong. So we're very opinionated and just spitballing out here, but we want to get some interaction and more chatter going. And trades. Don't be afraid to make trades. I think there's, like we talked about in here, there's a lot of teams that are heavy on running back and need wide receivers. They're heavy on wide receivers and need running backs. May have overlooked the quarterback position, and we know how vital quarterbacks have been in this league. We'll see.
So, but let's end it with a couple off the cuff predictions. But let's first start off by what's your prediction on who wins the toilet bowl?
Well, one of my bold predictions I have here, I do have Brian B. and Jake both missing the playoffs here. I think both teams auto-drafted, and looking at the way that they ended up, both teams have 3 tight ends when you're really only going to play one, and tight end's the weakest position. Both guys are hurting at running back, which has been overly vital in this league too, and then Jake's only got the one quarterback. So looking at those two teams, it's looking rough. I think Mike was always a competitor. Well, not maybe a competitor, but always made the toilet bowl. And based on what I've seen early here from new Brian B, I'm not going to expect anything higher. So
Mike was a 2-time toilet bowl winner. Can this team franchise win a third? We'll wait and see.
We'll see. He's the Houston Texans of its fantasy league. So
I'm predicting Brian to win the Moors division. Brian Haig will win the Moors division. That's my.
Yeah, here he is talking about this rebuild, and now it's not his year, but I think his team is definitely well balanced.
That's my bold prediction.
And has some interesting sleepers there. Strong quarterback room. I think Brian Haig needs to give himself more credit than what he lets off, and it's those quieter, sneaky teams that you got to watch out for every year. So. Yeah, Brian's a good pick. I'll take Steve to win that division. No, actually, I'll take Brett. Sorry, Steve. Brett always finds a way to compete. I think Brett will be finding a way to better his running backs or make a lot of trades where he needs to. That Brett is always a competitor, like I already said, I don't think Randy wins this division. So I'm going to go Brett winning the division, and then Randy getting the second spot, and then a toss-up between Brian and Steve for that third one. That'll be fun to watch them hash it out.
Brian's my
This year.
sleeper.
Rubble.
I know, bud.
And it's
I'm going to make a prediction that me and Eric will fight it out. One of us will win the Moores division. I know it's weird but I really think that we have the best two teams in that division. We'll see if Justin Fields puts it together. Then I think it'll be me. But if he does not, then I think I'm probably going to miss the playoffs and have a shot at the toilet bowl.
I'm really banking on past history, if I'm being honest. That we've seen the Rodgers-Wilson stack that you mentioned earlier. That this league has been carried by two strong quarterbacks and then 2 or 3 strong running backs, and that's the strategy that I'm employing. So I'm following copycat, but if that's what it takes to win, that's what I want to do, because I've only made the playoffs 3 times in 8 years, and that drives me nuts.
We need to change that.
So this is
I've
my
only
year.
missed once in 8 years.
Yeah, check out that league history tab in the ESPN app if you haven't, because it shows who's your easiest competition and who's your biggest rival, and it could surprise you looking at the historical records of the last 8 years and how your team has played out. My recap was more sadness than joy, but this is my year to make redemption and compete.
That's it. Well, we didn't hold true to our promise to keep it short. We're at 26 and a half minutes, but we'll wrap it up there. The last thing I'm going to say is I think Jamar Chase finishes outside of the top 20 in wide receivers. And I know he's on my team, but that's another prediction of mine. Sophomore slump. I'll trade him for the right price.
Won't trade him. No,
I will for the right price.
All right.
All right, guys. Good luck this year.
Good luck.
Bye.